Hey, everybody. Welcome to edition 55 of Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. Today, we talk about fencing, not the fencing kind in the Olympics, because that's a summer sport, the actual fence kind. And we also talk about bakeries and one of my favorite things to have with a coffee, turnovers. Enjoy.
Well, hello, Jeff. Welcome to Enjoying Orange Slices with you and me.
What a way to start it. Just cracking ourselves up.
Making
What's
ourselves
up, Lord
laugh.
Bank?
Yeah.
That's the only reason we do it, right?
Yeah.
This is the same conversation.
I haven't talked to you all week. We haven't had a good laugh or a good like shut up in a week.
No, we haven't been. Hey, so where were you? Were you in SoCal this weekend? Or
I was in Lexington, Kentucky from a Wednesday night until Sunday morning.
Hey, for those of you that haven't been to Lexington, Kentucky, because I've been there too years ago, do they not have the best fences in the world there?
Oh, yeah, the best.
Like,
just one.
It's unbelievable.
Just two pieces of wood. That's it. That's all.
And they're all painted. They're all like they take such good care of them. White, two-piece fences.
Yeah,
it's almost like a bathing suit, but
less
fence, two-piece,
and less material than a Kim Kardashian bathing suit. You can
the
see
best.
You can see nothing but bush on the other side of the fence. Oh my God. This one's out of control. This one's
Hey, we start talking about fences and you go right in the bush. Right off into the bush you go.
We're gonna get another one of those emails. I've never been to Lexington, but maybe you should give away a flight to there so we can see what it's all about.
Yeah. We started with the giveaways last week. I mean, we're not the prices right here, but
we're the prices.
We do the best we can. Yeah.
But it was a good time. It was a good time in Lexington, Kentucky. I had a great shows. I love the people there, salt of the earth. And it's always nice to go and read on the top headline is everywhere else COVID's dropping except for 3 states: Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. You're like, well, I'm here. I'm in it. Here we go.
Yeah, let's go.
So,
well, you know what? Hey, I was out of town this weekend too, but I had to laugh because we were up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and what a place that is. It's not the easiest place to get into. What?
Somebody's rich on this show.
Somebody, whoever goes there. So we ended up there this weekend with Meg, and I got to tell you, what a place! Crazy, Wild West feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. But you're right. I think if you have a van, you could probably put it on a lot, sell it for about $250,000 up there. It's crazy what's going on, but some real fun things. I saw a figure skating. They had a young figure skating group up there in Jackson Hole, and they had this young fellow that had come in and he competed nationally, U.S. nationally, and I think it said he might have been in the Olympics years ago. Anyways, he's out there. They've got this frozen natural ice surface because it was cold, but around it they've got it kind of fenced in with plexiglass, so you can lean up against it. But they have trees, and then a place to sit in the middle. And these guys and these young gals were doing their performances around the trees, and it was it was really good. Anyways, here he is ripping off triple axles and quadruple quads, I guess they call them. And I'm like, yeah, around the trees. So it was pretty good. Anyways, Jackson Hole, really cool place for those who haven't been there. Great story behind it, and I got to see tons of animals, everything you can think of, and I can see why the fur trade was huge there way back in the day. But anyways, we've got to move on.
I love that. I went to Jackson Hole and I wanted to shoot everything that moved, everything. I wanted to turn it into a jacket.
I got to send some pictures in. We could put it up this week. We went up to the elk refuge where they are protected. And so they can come in the winter because they used to take over all the area. Of course, the people were smart and they said, no, we need some of this area to build. So they actually have some protected areas for them. So we saw elk, deer.
If you got some pictures, here's what I'm going to do. We'll put them in. Yeah, we'll put them in our Facebook group, Enjoying Orange Slices. So people join our Facebook group. Jeff will put up some pictures in there. He's not on social media, but his wife and I am, and his daughters and stuff. And we run that group, and we'll put some pictures up from his weekend where he's old Jed was a millionaire. So
That's right. That's right. Pretty cool spot. But I had to laugh because we ended up going out, seeing the elk, and we came back just in time for kickoff of the Super Bowl. And I was like, you know what? This is how powerful sports is. The NBA started COVID and the NFL ended it.
that's funny.
But the NFL, like, remember, it's Rudy Gobert, I think it was, in Toronto.
Pretended,
right?
yeah, touched everything.
Yeah. He touched everything, but he actually had COVID.
Yeah.
He was one of the first guys. And then the NFL said, hey, guess what? If you're going to put any restrictions on the Super Bowl in LA, we're moving it to Dallas. It's like all of a sudden, COVID's over.
COVID's done.
So if you want to know, it's not the politicians who decide stuff, it's the sports.
It's
sports
Roger
world.
Goodell.
Yeah. So
you know, my favorite part of the whole Super Bowl was when we were going to talk about Olympic hockey, but we're starting it off with Super Bowl, was the halftime show, and Carrie Ann, like most girls, went nuts, was dancing in the living room, and I'm just like, what the hell's going on? Why is there a dance party in our living room? And she was having a good time, but and then all of a sudden you see people complaining about it. This is and I'm like, aren't you the same people that said you'd never watch football 5 years ago? Like, what are you doing?
it was awesome. Yeah, I thought they did a great job at the halftime show. So it was a lot of fun. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre was up there. We had Eminem, 50 Cent. And, you know, Eminem sings that same song every time he gets on live TV, and people lose it every time. It's like, so it was a lot of fun. And then Mary J. Blige was on too. So I feel like we're a hockey podcast. We've talked to NBA today, and we've talked football. We will get to hockey though at some point.
Podcast. I love the fact that Eminem sings that song or whatever, he does that song every time, because he mentioned his mom's spaghetti every time. Like, how great of a son is that you mention every time you're on TV, you mention your mom's spaghetti and how great it was.
Yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun. So anyways, you guys can thank the NFL and Roger Goodell for ending COVID.
Thanks, Roger.
Because they said, we're done. So
we're done.
And of course, the mask mandate came down in California just before the Super Bowl, and miraculously, it came down, no mask mandate anymore in Nevada. And so you can come to the casino and spew all over everybody, and don't worry about it.
It's bad to give bad viruses to anybody, to strangers in Nevada again. So good for you.
Yeah. That's right.
It was a good time. I flew over. I was landing on a United flight, blah blah blah, from Chicago, and took a little bit of video of the Super Bowl as we flew over top, because it was just starting as we were landing. So it was kind of cool. I just missed the flyby by the Air Force. So, anyways,
yeah. Well, and that's another thing for people that might or might not know. I probably don't care. SoFi Stadium in LA is built right in between the runways that they use, and majority of the time, 99, 95% of the time, LA lands to the west, right? You got the nice breeze coming in off the ocean. It's a beautiful place with beautiful people. Well, SoFi Stadium, there's four runways, two, for landing because they got so much traffic, a north and the south one, and then they use the other two for taking off. Well, when you're landing on the North Complex in LA, you're literally looking, if you're on the left side of the airplane, you're looking right down on top of that roof. And, I was wondering how they were going to do that, because they got the flyby, then they got all these people, like that's what they call a temporary flight restriction in the airspace, but somehow LA still got to operate. So pretty interesting. Yeah.
Little known fact, SoFi Stadium, 3/4 of the stadium is underground because they couldn't build up because how close it is to the airport and airspace. Little information, write that down.
Boom.
Yeah.
That just happened.
That's
great.
Ian Bag, you're just saying stupid stuff. Bring some knowledge to the game. My ginkgo biloba I'm taking is just working.
It took 15 years, but it finally kicked in. So the other thing that's cool about it, and that stadium was 2 years behind, because remember when you guys got all that rain 3-4 years ago, and then all that water went down into the bottom where people sit now. So
it's kept flooding. And that's all it kept doing.
Yeah. The rains actually put that thing way behind, but it is beautiful. I hear have you been in there?
I have not, but I hear it's fantastic.
Okay.
We'll have to go see something. We'll have to go see a concert or football. Football's boring to me, so I don't know if I want to go see football, but I'd go see something. I did not know, before we get on to hockey, and this is how we'll do our switch over to hockey. I did not know Bronky he owns the Rams and that building. Does he also own the Avalanche?
No, but he owned the Nuggets, and I think it's Frankie that owns. So he's Kroenke, and then there's a big name in Denver, Frankie, and I think Frankie owns the Avs.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Because
but
he kept saying how he might be able to win 2 championships. Now he's moving on to his hockey team to win a championship.
Then he must be, because he owns the Denver Nuggets. I know that much. So we're a hockey podcast, but we don't know the answer to the hockey question.
We won't say that we know everything. We'll just ask a question. So if you know that knowledge, let us know. But let us know if Gronky owns both the Avalanche and the thing. But Friday night, I did the shows, got back to the hotel at about 11 p.m. East Coast time, and picked it up on the second period from China. America plays Canada in men's hockey, and America beat Canada, and as they should have. I thought Canada looked like a team that hasn't played on Olympic ice ever and was confused by it.
Well, it was a great game as far as pace went and energy.
Really think?
Well, hang on.
Okay.
But they're both going to get into the bakery business because of all the turnovers, which is to be expected, right? To be expected.
I've never heard that. Oh my God.
So,
and is that a Sharples?
What do you?
Is that yours?
Come on. No, I only use that. But,
I wanted to write
since I left the game, I use it. When I was in the game, I would have had like multiple bakeries. I could open them out across Canada and the US with all the turnovers. But
hey, hostess, can you keep the puck on our stick? Would they ever say that to you?
We used to call it back in the day when a guy would roast you and go in for a breakaway. We're handing out show tickets. Here's your ticket. Have a nice breakaway. Here's your ticket. Have a nice breakaway. And so the same thing kind of happened in the Canada-US men's game, where they're not used to playing with each other. And so what you end up having is guys try and go it alone. And of course, guys throwing the puck where they think the other guys think they're going to go, and he's not there. So, I love the energy. Both teams are in the quarterfinals now, which I think is huge. Canada's going to play Sweden, so they're going to play a team that has some guys that are used to playing with each other, and they're going to have to find a way. Goaltending is going to be the difference, in my view. It usually comes down to that in the end, but the goaltending is going to be the difference whether or not Canada and US continue on their way.
Some soft goals from all goaltenders in that tournament right now. Some pretty weak, at least one soft goal a game on each team.
Yeah, and it's because they're not sure where the guys in front of them are going sometimes, and or it's one of those things. It's a tough position to play goal, obviously, and when you get moving around in there and things aren't happening the way you think they're going to happen in front of you, sometimes you can look a little bit foolish. But that what's happening is these guys just aren't used to playing with each other. As the tournament goes on and the games get more important, they try and just, the emotion's going to be there. Just try and simplify it a little bit. We'll see what happens.
I was looking a little red there after my good laugh. Might have to get might have to get my blood pressure checked after that. I look like a stoplight.
You're out walking around in the wind today.
I think I see what you're saying. I don't know. I was curious, and this is a question for you about. Do you think they should have went with Claude Julien, or do you think they should have gone with somebody that's coaching those guys? Because he isn't coaching those guys, right? And I feel
he's back.
No. Where's he coaching?
Claude Julien's coaching the Canadians.
No, I know, but he's coaching the Canadian Olympic team, and I was just thinking that these guys. I'm saying that these guys aren't in the show, and he's kind of got that show attitude. Maybe take somebody, your best AHL guy, your best college coach, and put him on the bench there. Might change a little bit. because
Yeah.
something's off, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's off because they just threw these guys together. I mean, 6 weeks ago, these guys
You're
didn't even
so
know they're going to the
positive.
Olympics.
You're so
I
positive.
know. It's unbelievable.
It's weird.
Um,
Not like this. As soon as we turn off the cameras, you tell everybody to.
just I think with what they want to do is they wanted the experience because they wanted a coach and a big track record, as you can see watching the Olympics, and it doesn't matter what sporting event you're watching, the emotions of representing your country and going against the best in the world, and it's you know, I mean, it just there's so much packed into it. So I think Canada went with somebody that has a proven track record. He's got a Stanley Cup. He's been in big moments, and
You just want to get to the next round, right? You don't have to sweep it all. Just you've got to figure out who you're playing with and keep at least keep some sort of semblance of a team and make yourself get through to the next round and then keep going, right? They love to say when I was watching it on NBC, this is the first time in 12 years that the Americans have beaten Canada. And I was just like, you mean 3 games? It's the first time in 3, like, why you gotta say 12 years? Yeah, the Olympics is every 4 years. You twat. Anyways.
Yeah, well, it's going back to the Canadian coach for a second, Julian. I believe if I go back to what Babcock was coaching when they were in Salt Lake, I think there's some tie back there to Julian as well as an assistant coach back in other Team Canada's, and possibly coaching him at the World Championship at the end of the season, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where it is. Well, and you know what, the Canadians and the US, it's ironic to me. It used to be Canada and Russia, right? Mm-hmm. That was the big ticket item. And the States has come in, and this goes for the women's game. They're playing the gold medal games Wednesday night, Canada and US. Okay, then you got the Canadian and the US Olympic, the men's teams have they had to stop a scrimmage basically between them before the Olympics started. So right. If they can get back together, that would be a hell of a game. And then, of course, when you look at soccer, the biggest rivalry in the women's side of the World Cup and Olympics is Canada-US. So but just specifically in hockey, it used to be Canada and Russia. And Canada's kind of, this has always been where Canada's excelled. And the US now and Canada have this crazy rivalry, and it's entertaining. And tomorrow night, the women's game will be crazy. I picked Canada a little earlier in the tournament, so I think I'll stay with them on tomorrow night. Yeah, I think the women, just something about them, just watching them play. But the U.S. lost to them earlier. Maybe there's a little bit of revenge factor there. The Canadian goalie looked to be the difference the first time they played. Mm-hmm. And if she plays anything close to what she played the last time Canada and U.S. women's Olympic teams played earlier in the tournament, she's going to be really tough to beat. She looked like an NHL goalie in there. She was unbelievable.
I was listening to a podcast after we podcasted last week, and suddenly they had the idea of remember I said 4 tournaments or 4 or 5 tournaments for the women's game. Suddenly that was being brought up. I'm like, somebody's listening to our damn podcast and taking our ideas, because I like it. I also find it very interesting in the Olympics that they're banned for drug use, yet some of their athletes are back, even though they're banned, and some of them are still getting hit for drug using performance enhancing drugs. And just like, at some point you got to let them go, well,
you know what, the young gal that's a figure skater, Billy, or I don't know what her last name is, she was phenomenal. And then she got busted. Well, anyways, tested positive for a banned substance. I read something this morning where it was like her grandfather's or grandmother's medication or something. I'm not sure. Maybe it got mixed up. Where I go on this,
which medication?
I don't know what happened there. I don't know.
I love the Russians. I love the Russians. My 15-year-old switched medications with my 78-year-old. Yeah. That's exactly, because your 15-year-old was on medications. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she is like, this kid is the next level of skating I've never seen. But here's the problem. Okay, so they're representing Russia, but they can't be called Russia the Russian Olympic Committee. Okay, so they've obviously been, because of allegations that has been levied against them over the years, they can't compete as Russia. Well, here's this young gal, 15 years old, and I'm like, what are we doing that we put our 15-year-old kid in a position for this to happen? And whether you want to say or not, she's only 15 years old. She's, think back to when we were all 15.
Yeah,
If you, yeah, yeah, well, I was what? I heard what you said. But yeah, you change, right? Or
right.
Ed, you don't know. But
I
here
know.
it is. She's living in the moment on the world stage. And now she doesn't, I don't think she got the medal, right? They like, oh, that's a positive drug test, but now she's back competing. I mean, can we get the waters a little bit muddier? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just creates problems for when other things happen. That you gotta say sorry. You're 15. We'll see you in 4 years. See you when you're 19. Maybe don't hang out with your grandma for 3 weeks and screw up your medication, before you come to the Olympics.
Well, I'm just saying, a 15-year-old, you know what? They're just kids, and
are just kids.
I just have a problem with it. I'm like, come on, are we gonna? I'm not saying not to test every athlete, because you absolutely should, but where does the buck stop, right?
You got to train, and that leads into a perfect time for us to talk about Super Deker. You got to train, but you got to have fun. Super Deker is a hockey training system that takes the new technology and lets a puck show you where to you play it as a video game. So all you need is your stick. You get Super Deker. You have a good time with it. Jeff and I have one. They're fun. If you go to superdeker.com and use the code SLICES, you will get a discount, and you may get some extras thrown in there. Slices and Super Deker. What a good time. Super Deker. And now back to the show.
Okay, so you want to talk about a little bit of, we're in the Olympics. We got there. We talked about Canada, U.S. The women goes tomorrow night. Hopefully, the two men's teams get through. We'll see how that all works out for them. But let's get back to the show for a minute here. Back to NHL.
Let's talk about the divisions and how they're kind of. It's that time of the year where things are really kind of starting to separate. So let's talk about that first. Who's on top and who's falling behind. Jeff.
Okay, so thank you, Ian. I actually do have a comment on that.
Okay.
So the East looks like it's pretty much done. Detroit's kind of trying to hang in there. Columbus has just won 4 of their last 5 too, but I just don't know if you're going to catch Washington and Boston, who are the 2 wild card teams right now. Mm-hmm. But one of the things, and out west, it's a mosh pit, and it looks like it's going to stay that way for a while. The one team that looks like it's going to separate itself a little bit here is Calgary. In the Pacific. Once they catch up in their games, they got a lot of home games, playing really well. But one of the things I noticed, and might be the reasoning for the difference in the 2 divisions this year, is in the Eastern Conference, all those top teams have fantastic home records, like 3-4 losses, maybe 5-6 losses. Okay, in the West, all the teams except Colorado, Colorado, I think it's Mini and Calgary, have fantastic home records. The rest of them not as great. They're much better. They're very good on the road though. So they haven't been able to get their cookies at home, but they've been able to win their road games.
I think that happened.
I think that's part of it.
Do you think that has anything to do with there's more teams in the West in Canada where games were postponed?
Yeah, I don't know where the mix comes in on that. But if you just look at the standings, I was just having a look at them, and I thought, what's going on here? And what's going on is, like, even a team like San Jose, who started to fade just a touch now the last week or so.
Game last night. Tough game
last night. Yeah, they did. It just couldn't get anything going. But they are like right around 500 at home, but they're 500 on the road. So they've been able to not get it done at home, but they've been able to stay in the mix with their road record. And if you go through the Pacific and the Central teams, outside of the 3 I mentioned, Colorado, Mini, and Calgary, the other teams, even Vegas, you come into the Fortress, Vegas is 14-10, and I don't know, 1 or 2 at home. I mean, they certainly haven't had the same kind of year they normally do at home. And so I think that's why LA is another one. You see these teams that are they're above 500 at home for the most part, but they're very good on the road, and that's what's keeping this thing tight. In the East, the top teams are by far and away. They're just running away with it with their home records.
Mhm.
And then you got this group that, and I think the Islanders are just about I just watched them come through Western Canada. We kind of talk about them maybe being a team that could make a run for it.
They kind
They
of
beat
struggled.
Vancouver. Yeah, you know what? They're starting to look old and slow to me. They played a lot of hockey the last 2 to 3 years. I see it. When you go, well, so is Tampa, and they've won 2 cups, which is true. But if you look at the Islanders,
It's a different hockey.
they are
Though,
really not themselves. And
I'm going to talk over to you. I'm going to talk over you is what I'm going to do. The difference between Islanders and Tampa is it seems to be less on your brain and your body if you win.
Right. I agree. And so I started looking at the Islanders lineup, and they got some really fantastic young players there. But they have a lot of veterans who are going to really help you once you get to the playoffs, but you got to get there.
Mhm.
And it seems to me like they went through Western Canada. They got up on Vancouver first game after the break. They were up like 5-0, 10 minutes in or something insane. And then they held on. Well, they got into 2 teams in Edmonton and Calgary, one who's can really skate in Edmonton and another one that's really structured in Calgary. And both those teams handled them. I wouldn't say with ease, but they handled them. So you look and you go, well, what's going on with the Islanders, right? They had a crazy 13 or 14 in a row to start the season on the road. They got a bunch of home games coming, but I just don't see that team being as cohesive as they have been. And I just wonder if there's some fatigue there. The other team I think about with that is when I watch Vegas, even though Vegas is right in the mix still, Vegas is another one of those teams that's played a whole bunch over the last 2 years. And sometimes I just wonder, some nights when I watch them, if mentally, they're just not as sharp as they normally are, even though they've still got a great team.
Question for you.
Tampa wins, right?
Let's talk about those 3 teams that the Islanders played. Let's talk about actually 2 teams and then one other team that we talk about, Edmonton. Edmonton played San Jose. So let's talk about Edmonton. Edmonton, since we last talked, dismissed their coach Tippett. They're on a new high right now with a new coach. They seem to be playing like they're not holding on as hard as they were under Tippett, and every mistake was magnified, right? So they seem to have calmed down a little bit. Smith is back. How long he's back for, always interesting, but he seems to be playing. His first 2 games were a little bit of a struggle, but he seems to be keeping them in the game. You move down to Calgary. Calgary went out and got Toffoli. And how much better of a team does Toffoli make Calgary?
Well, he gives you another threat, and he's won 2 cups. So
he's played for Carroll.
And he loves, and don't be surprised if Pearson doesn't show up there from Vancouver at some point, or if they get another guy from the band back together, because when they had that 70s line with Toffoli, Carter, and Pearson in LA, and those guys were unbelievable. So what Toffoli does is he helps take some of the load off the other guys because he's a sniper. He's a real cagey player, smart guy. He'd be a great poker player, right? Because you never see him sweat. You can't tell what he's thinking. And then boom, it's in the back of the net. So he knows how to play under Daryl. And it just gives them another guy that you have to, their top 6 forwards that you got to look out for. And you look at the way they play like a playoff game most nights, Calgary does. So it won't be a big stretch for them when they get to the playoffs. I think with the amount of home games they get, they have left, that they could win the Pacific. And then, I've always thrown Vegas in there too. I know Calgary and Vegas have kind of been my 2 picks, but I don't know. I mean, you got LA, you've got Vancouver trying to make a run for it, but they've got the most games played. San Jose looks like they're fall a little bit, but don't forget about Anaheim and LA in there as well. And I feel like there's somebody else I'm missing, but Edmonton. Yeah.
San Jose, a question about San Jose. Their big thing was nothing's really changed, and I love San Jose. And by the way, first of all, let's start out with that. Congratulations, Calgary. Any Calgary fans that listen to this show, I think you must be thrilled with Toffoli coming to you. You didn't really give anything up that's in your lineup right now. You gave him prospects and draft picks. So you got to be pretty happy with that trade. some people I know are complaining, but I think congratulations.
Well, if you think about it, you give up a first rounder. Calgary's going to be a top 5 team in the league at the end of the year. I would be surprised if they're not as far as points.
Right.
So you're going to get a low first rounder for them. I think there's a 5th thrown in there, prospect, and Tyler Pitlick, who I like Tyler Pitlick, but he couldn't get in the lineup there. And I believe they might have picked him up off the waiver wire anyways. Not 100%, might be wrong there. I think they maybe traded with Seattle for him. But in any event, Tyler Pitlick, who is a really good feisty forward, he couldn't get in the lineup there because they're just stacked. They haven't had much injuries this year in Calgary. So Toffoli comes in, gives them another guy with big game pedigree that's won and can score. And if he gets going, boy, oh boy, is that ever, rising tide lifts all boats. It's going to take all the pressure off the other guys.
Right.
And then you watch them all join the party. And they're not having problems scoring goals in Calgary.
So as I said, you should be pretty happy if you're a Calgary fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got term on his contract too. He's not a rental.
Yeah, he's definitely not a rental. But San Jose, there's just no, you open up the curtains and it's the same view. You open up the curtains and it's the same view. You open up the curtains and it's the same view, So I don't know. And Doug, their general manager, is on sick leave, and I don't know if that is affecting why you haven't maybe done anything. Am I reaching?
Well, it's not like there's been a shortage of things they've done there. I mean, it might be just time to kind of take pause here and just see where we are. Don't forget, this is a team that picked up Evander Kane. They brought in Erik Karlsson. They've done some things over the course of time. They've tried to make the big move. Marlowe and Thornton are both gone there now. And those two guys were big presence in the room. The other guy that's gone, that was probably the most unsung guy who you might see move at the deadline, is Pavelski.
No.
Who'd you say?
Evander Kane. I love the disgust.
Well, but you know what, that turmoil, it's like, I don't know, once you pull the roast out of the oven, it's still cooking, right, for a while. Right. So they might be just trying to just settle down. Karlsson, for the most part, had a good year. They missed Pavelski.
That's I will say that they both Karlsson and Johnny Longstick. Why am I blanking on his name?
Burnsy.
I call him Johnny Longstick. They've had a great season. They have it's worked together quite well. And, it's kind of impressive where we usually talk about it. You're treading the same carpet. They've seemed to have been able to go different ways with it. So that's kind of cool. You think they'll sign Tomas Hertl? You think he's going to sign there?
You know what? That I don't know. I love the player, and I think
I'm gonna put a thumb on there.
You think they're gonna move him?
I think he's gonna end up in Vegas.
Okay. How many more guys can they get here?
It's as many as they can. I think he'd love to play in Vegas.
Talking about that, did you brought up a rumor at the start of the show about Vegas?
I'll bring up a rumor.
Yeah.
Leonard is reported long-term hurt, and apparently there's some discussions with Chicago trying to get if Fleury gets a shutout, everybody in Vegas gets free donuts. Apparently
they've got the fans all in.
Yeah.
We talked about that many times. Krispy Kreme, when they used to get a shutout, Flower would get a shutout. Oh man, we were down there getting 2 dozen boxes of Krispy Kreme after some of those wins. Fleury, you and I were part of that. But
Fleury confused his grandma's medication when he was 15 years old. Anyways, the rumor is that Vegas is trying to put together a package to get Fleury back, and my goodness, if that happens,
you heard it first.
If that happens, first of all, that airport will be packed with fans just waiting for him to come back, and just tears rolling down everybody's face.
Oh my goodness.
I can't believe it. Oh, he's back.
Could you imagine? There'd be like thousands of people probably they probably need to have a escort out of there. They'd be all over it. But I don't know. Just heard that Leonard might be injured. Don't know whether he is or he isn't. But
put it out there before Elliot Friedman says anything. You got it right here from the slices. Leonard's hurt. Mm-hmm. They're going after Fleury. They need him back, but who knows? That might be a lie. They might just have to put him out there so they can get Jack Eichel back on the ice. They might have to put those two contracts on a long-term reserve, long-term injured reserve, LTIR. Is that what it is?
Yeah, very good.
That might be what they're just doing there, is trying to keep that in play.
Yeah, maybe. I always wonder, like when people say that, everyone's always looking for another angle where you put a $9 or $10 million player like Mark Stone's out right now. Why you put him out so you could bring another guy in, and then the playoffs doesn't start till what, April sometime, end of April. So that's a long time and a giant leap of faith to think a guy would want to sit out like that, not play. But
It's
it's a nice thing about
it's a tough struggle. If it was a Russian, I would say yeah, probably, but it's not a Russian, so I would say no. I'd say he's probably hurt. And let's be honest, he had a back injury at the beginning of the year. Back injuries do not heal quickly.
Yeah, he's been nicked up even since the playoffs last year. So we'll see what happens. And and to protect the other guy, we always talk. Goes back to Tampa Bay and Kucherov. Like, it's not like he went in and said, "Hey, listen, I need to miss 6 or 8 months, and so can you give me a hip surgery?"
Yeah.
If he did that for his team,
not like he was getting his boobs done. Got a hip injury. Oh man, yeah, crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt with stupidity.
No, that's it. I can't follow that up.
Okay. Well, let's move on. We've been yip yapping for about 35 minutes. So let's we talked about the Super Bowl. It was Valentine's Day yesterday. My goodness. And Nashville and Dallas are playing outdoors coming up, and nobody cares. That's what's insane about it. I think the NHL sometimes gets over their skis, and I don't know why they put that game together, because it would be just coming out of the Olympics anyways. Why wouldn't you have just let that ride?
Nashville is what a place, right? And the Stadium Series, but this still, you hype the heck out of this kind of stuff, right? Everyone's all fired up about it, and so far it hasn't gotten any traction. So I would imagine Bridgestone's going to sponsor it, so maybe we can get some traction with the tire company.
Oh my God, let's get it back on the road.
But I don't know. There's so much going on. The games got mixed up. Now they're trying to catch up. We got the Olympics on. There's got to be a massive push once the Olympics wrap this week, for them to get going, because I believe the game, of course, again, we don't talk about fact on this program much, but I think it's the 25th, isn't it? Isn't it 25th of February, somewhere around there? So it's within the next week, 2 weeks.
I think it's on the 29th of February.
Okay, so it's within the next 2 weeks. It's in February, right? So the 29th. Jeez. That's awesome.
I love it. Okay,
that's good. But anyways,
as we said, facts don't count on this show.
No, we're just making it up. But hopefully they start pushing it. I know Nashville will do a great job with it, and where that stadium is right across the little river from downtown Broadway in Nashville, which is crazy.
Speaking of stadiums, Arizona showed off their new house the other day. And just like any retirement community, they are downsizing. It's crazy. 5,000 people. In a way, it seems kind of interesting. Can you imagine just the quality of human being that's going to be in there at like $400 a ticket? It's just going to be a quiet building with people having passing the Grey Poupon around. Because they're going to be so rich. And at the same time, here's something that really concerns me. What happens when the ASU, I think it's ASU, right? It's ASU, it's Arizona State University.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What happens when their games that are going on in there outsell a professional hockey team? That's going to look bad. Now you're making your product. I think it's got mistake written all over it.
Okay, so they're going to be finally playing, as one of their executives said, it's going to be packed. The building's going to be packed. Well, there's a problem. The building's only 5,000 seats, right? But he's not lying. That's the truth. So
What is
here's
it?
what I'm gonna.
I think
Okay,
I think they're only at 4,000 for their normal games. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
So they got to find enough thousand people. But here's what I want you to consider. Okay, so those of you out there that are golf fans, you'll know about this. But if you're not a golf fan, Google the Phoenix Waste Management Open. Phoenix. Okay, there's a young fellow pro called Ryder. Last name is Ryder. He got a hole one this weekend. I think it was on Saturday. I'm not sure. And they have the 16th holes is this crazy place. And so what they're trying to do, I think, is say we want to try and build this into a party. We want it to be kind of like rocking and rolling, where these 5,000 people are right in there, right on top of you. And of course, just I'll see if we can find a clip of this thing. We'll put it up on the page. But I think that's what they're thinking is let's go a little bit more. We can't. We're done where we are. Let's try and build a grassroots kind of fan base up. And I mean, if you get a bunch of college kids in there, you're not going to be getting $400 a ticket either.
Yeah.
So you have, but I think what their thought is let's try and spice it up a bit. I know people are out there going, how can you play an NHL team in a 5,000 seat building? Well, it looks like they're going to do it till 2025. So they're going to be in there for a few seasons. Trying to think back of an NFL team.
I also think it gives the other teams power to tell them the NHL to shut up at times when they say, well, you can't do that. Shut it. We've seen what you did with Arizona.
Yeah.
You know what it is? There's got to be some. I know there's something about building and gambling in Arizona. There's some sort like you can run gambling out of a sports arena. There's got to be something, and the NHL's got to be in some sort of business, and it can only take place in Arizona because they are keeping a team there no matter what. Like I could see them going down to like playing at the Improv very soon. 500 people just going in there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's an interesting idea, and I guess it's not an idea. I guess it's going to happen, but if you look at Phoenix, you don't really think of this rowdy kind of sports market.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow the quietest game in the world, which is basically golf, or one of them, can go and have this incredible entertainment experience, especially on some of the holes there in Arizona at Scottsdale where they played last weekend. So I don't know, the guy they're pushing it. Still got
to get the people out, and the people haven't really bought the game. So sometimes it just doesn't happen. Like sometimes it just doesn't happen. But let's wrap it up. Let's do some shout outs. Get out of here. We've been chit chatting for a while. We've been getting the turnovers done in our bakery. Let's you got any shout outs this week, Jeff?
Yeah. So this week, yesterday or this week is Valentine's week, but Valentine's Day was on the February 14th. So I have a shout out to a good buddy of mine. He's one of the first people, actually. He's kind of the hub, and then all the spokes of friends come off of him in Vegas. He was the first guy that kind of glued a bunch of us together in Vegas. A good friend, Jimmy Dwyer. And the reason I bring him up on Valentine's Day is because, I'd love for Jimmy to be my Valentine. But he said years ago, when you're in a relationship with Jimmy Dwyer, every day is Valentine's Day. So shout out to Jimmy. Oh, I love it. Jim Dwyer. Jim. So good. That's my shout out.
Happy Valentine's Day, even though it isn't Valentine's Day, Jimmy, because it's a relationship with you. My goodness. I want to give a shout out to all you that listen to the show. I've been getting some emails and hey, how much we enjoy the show. My shout is for you guys. You guys are my Valentine's Day. You guys. So make sure you join the Facebook group. Check out Super Deeker. Use the orange slices, not orange slices. Just use slices. I want to give a shout out to you guys. Thanks for listening to the show. Means a lot. You can listen to it or you can watch it and see how our faces twist and turn during the show, or you can just listen to your car or on your favorite place where you get your podcast. Shout out to everybody that listens to the show. Thank you very much. Love talk. Everybody, thanks for listening, watching the show. Show is cooked and done and baked and put it on the shelves because this is turned over. Make sure you rate, like, and review. We appreciate you. Have a great day.